Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, on the Pappas Post Facebook page. Thank you very much for joining me. I know I've been away for a month, but I'm back doing my live with Gregory Pappas, and I'm very excited tonight. I'm going to wait a few seconds until more people join the broadcast. I'm excited this evening to have a very special guest on a very somber day, I think, somber for most of us, particularly Greek Orthodox Christians in the United States. Today is the first day in almost 90 years that Muslim prayers were recited in the great cathedral of Hagia Sophia. And I have with me as my special guest on Live with Gregory Pappas His Grace Bishop Demetrios of Mokissos, who is the Hierarchal Proistamenos of the St. Photios National Shrine in St. Augustine, Florida. I am bringing His Grace Bishop Demetrios on the screen right now, all the way from St. Photios. Let's find you. Here you go. Your Grace, welcome to Live with Gregory Pappas.
Hi, Greg. It's good to see you, and hello to all our viewing audience.
We've got a lot of people watching already from all over the country and all over the world, actually. It's a very special day, and I don't mean special in a good way. I mean special in a pretty sad way for all of us. But before we start talking about the issue at hand, I want to talk about who you are, what you've done over the last 30 or so odd years. You spent a good part of your career in Chicago. I wouldn't really call it a career. Perhaps we should call it a calling. But you are very well known in our community for being a champion of various social justice issues. You were instrumental in the state of Illinois in abolishing the death penalty. I remember I was there when the then governor invited you to join in the signing of the abolition of the death penalty. Prior to that, you were a full Greek Orthodox Bishop. You have to put a read here. Can you volume down? Are you good?
Sorry, I'm trying to share me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Your page. I was saying that you were one of the first Greek Orthodox clergy members to create back in the 80s the Bishop's Task Force on AIDS and HIV, tending to people in our community who were afflicted, not only the afflicted, but also their families and their communities. You do have a reputation for doing a lot of work in the social justice sphere. And I believe that the issue at hand that we're discussing today, the issue of again social, refer to you in a bit to tell us a little bit about the history. Just a crime, if you will, against Orthodox Christians and Christians of Turkey did a crime against the civilized world. Hagia Sophia was a symbol of civilization. So before we get into the issue of the conversion into a mosque, I know you've been there. I know you've studied Hagia Sophia. You've done numerous programs and presentations. Can you talk to the average non-religious theologian about the history and the significance of Hagia Sophia and why today has been designated a national day of mourning?
Well, first and foremost, Hagia Sophia was the cathedral of Constantinople, of Byzantium. It was built in 537. And it reigned and it functioned for over 1,000 years as a Greek Orthodox cathedral. The architecture and the symbolism and the iconography is incomparable. I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. And it was the largest cathedral, Christian cathedral in the world up until the construction of St. Peter's in Rome. And
so we're going before the split, right? Before the split,
yes. The split would happen in 1054, so way before that, 500 years before Hagia Sophia was built. Its mosaics are stunning. The whole structure makes you truly feel that you're engulfed in heaven. In fact, in 988, when Russia, Kievan Rus, sent out emissaries, Prince Vladimir sent out his emissaries from Russia, from Kievan Rus rather, to find a religion for his people, as legend tells us. When they came into the Hagia Sophia and they saw the liturgy happening and they were in this magnificent cathedral, they uttered that famous expression that we did not know whether we were on heaven or on earth. And then, of course, Kievan Rus becomes Orthodox because of that experience at Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is significant for all of Western civilization from a religious and cultural perspective, not simply one or the other. And the fact that it's become a mosque again makes it a terrible sin against humanity. In 1453, when Mehmed II conquered Constantinople and took over Hagia Sophia, he whitewashed all the beautiful mosaics and actually preserved them for us today. And UNESCO was arduously taking all the paint off to reveal the magnificent frescoes. What's going to happen now? The fact that this...
Excuse me for interrupting you, but I'll show everybody what's happening right now. And we have this photograph. And I know you've been pretty vocal on your personal Facebook page about this, and we'll talk about that. But we saw this photograph that shocked a lot of people. As you can see, the dome in the back is where the mosaic of the Virgin Mary and Christ is, and the president of Turkey ordered white tarps for that, so walking down upon them. How does this make you feel? You've been there, you've spent a lot of time in Constantinople. Looking at this photograph, how does it make you feel as a bishop of the Greek Orthodox Church and the continuation of this great Byzantine legacy?
It makes me feel violated and that our faith has been somehow desecrated again. That first of all, is the apse of the church. And it's a theological significance for us because the whole church is constructed in a theological way, that God is depicted as a Pantocrator and he reveals himself to his people, but God becomes human, takes on human form through a virgin, which is halfway between heaven and earth. And that magnificent icon is now being hidden from the world because, according to Islamic tradition, no images can be in a mosque. It begs the question, are they really praying in a mosque, or are they praying in a church that's just hidden from them? And I would like to think in my heart that they're praying in our church. They're not praying in a mosque.
There was a funny as funny can be today, meme that was circulating around Facebook that had an image of, we just lost the bishop. Hopefully he will be back soon. But there was an image of Christ, the mosaic of Christ, creeping his head behind a curtain saying, "I'm still here." For those of you that are on, I am with His Grace Bishop Demetrios of Mokissos. He is the Hierarchal Proistamenos of the St. Photios National Shrine in St. Augustine, Florida. And we are speaking about the inconceivable day today when we saw Muslim prayers happening in Hagia Sophia after the conversion by the Turkish president last week. It was shocking. The Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America designated today as a national day of mourning. The Roman Catholic Church in the United States invited its 70 million worshipers to join. His Grace is back with us. I'm bringing him back on screen. Your Grace, we know it's a live show. We have technical issues.
No, I didn't touch a thing. I did not touch a thing.
I was able to hold the program as long as we could on. So
okay.
I was just telling our audience about this being designated a National Day of Mourning by the Archbishop of America. You are a bishop of the Archdiocese. You run an institution of the Archdiocese of America. How did it make you feel as a bishop of the church, seeing the extraordinary steps that Archbishop Photios was taken? We know he went to see the vice president and the president yesterday. He issued an encyclical. I also understand that you at the shrine have taken some pretty significant steps today for an important tourist destination on St. George Street in St. Augustine, where hundreds of thousands of people pass on an annual basis. You took a bold step and put bunting out front, the purple and black colors of mourning, and you put a sign out that said, "We're closed for the day to observe our National Day of Mourning." Can you talk a little bit about the efforts of the Archdiocese and this Archbishop in particular, and why perhaps this is more significant for this Archbishop?
I think it's, first of all, he is a Turkish citizen himself, and he's from Istanbul. So I think it's very significant that he is as vocal as he is. I'm very proud of the fact that he called for a day of mourning throughout the Archdiocese and called upon our churches to chant the Akathist hymn, which we are going to do tonight here at the shrine as well. He has taken some very bold steps and measures, but as he told us today at a meeting that we attended by Zoom, it's not only important to do the work of social justice and activism, it's also important to pray. It's also important to mourn. It's also important to do the stuff that the church does and does well. To go back into our tradition, the Akathist hymn was sung at a time of persecution, when the city of Constantinople was being besieged by an enemy outside its doors, but right now it's being besieged by an enemy within its gates. And it's also an attack against civil society, coexistence, dialogue, interfaith dialogue. So he's done some amazing steps. We at the shrine put up bunting because we're a small institution. We're in the middle of the oldest inhabited city in the United States, but thousands of people pass our door. So putting up purple and black bunting was the least we could do. Closing the shrine for a day was the least we could do. And witnessing to the people here and to the world through social media that this is hurtful. It is not the way of civilized humanity. It's certainly not the way forward in the year 2020. And if we were making any progress in our interfaith dialogue with Islam and the rest of the world, this certainly set us back. The Ecumenical Patriarch himself made that comment to Erdogan before. He said, if you take this step, it's going to put a wedge between Orthodox Christianity and Islam even further, instead of healing. So I feel that pain, and I'm very happy that the Archbishop reached out to the President of the United States to get the help that we need.
He also reached out to the Catholic Church. We saw the announcement by the Conference of Catholic Bishops, which is
CCB.
They call on their 70 million faithful to do the Rosary Prayer, which is comparable to what Orthodox Christians do, which is, I understand you can explain this better, a prayer
Sure.
to the Mother of God. But I don't know, at least in my covering of our community, anything like this to ever have taken place where the Roman Catholic Church came on board in such a powerful way.
Well, this is certainly an affront to all Christians. Hagia Sophia was built before the schism, don't forget. And it was the jewel of Byzantium, but also one of the wonders of the world. So it's a slap in the face to all of Christianity, and to reach out to our sisters and brothers in Christ that we might not be in communion with right now, and to have them respond with that loving embrace that they have is exceedingly significant. It might even bridge that gap between us a little more, which I'm glad. Praying the Rosary is an intercessory prayer to the Theotokos, which like we're going to do tonight with the Akathistos. And I'm very proud of the fact that even here in the metropolis of Atlanta, where the shrine is located, Metropolitan Alexios and the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Atlanta issued a joint statement about this atrocity. Just like in New York, Archbishop Photios and Cardinal Dolan issued a statement together. Statements are good. Solidarity is good. Prayer together is good. But we also need a little more action. We need action, and we can't allow this to continue.
And how does one do that action. Our brethren Orthodox Russians famously said the other day that this is an internal Turkish matter. And in fact, one Turkish official at the Kremlin even said it's even better now because it'll be free for the tourists to enter and they won't have to pay the expensive ticket price. So when you have the Russians on the one hand saying it's an internal Turkish matter, and you've got other countries around the world and other Christian leaders around the world merely mentioning statements or condemnation, what can one do? What can the civilized world do to convince someone like Erdogan to turn back on his decision?
I don't think Erdogan will be open to any logical suggestion, but I know that the Order of Ahepa has issued a decree or a call to boycott all Turkish products, including Turkish Airlines, that I used to fly quite frequently to go to even Greece because it was efficient for me, but I will not do that now. I will honor that boycott. I used to be very much a proponent of interfaith dialogue, and I visited many mosques. I won't do that today. I don't feel comfortable entering a mosque. And I know some of our critics will say we shouldn't confuse this political reality with religious reality, but I cannot separate the two. Erdogan chose to make it a mosque. He didn't choose to make it a shopping center. So he chose to use religion to upset and to disrupt and to hurt.
And to divide.
And to divide. In fact, today, I know you saw it, the imam that was leading the prayer ascended the pulpit of Hagia Sophia carrying a sword to indicate that they have conquered once again. And the sword is used in Islamic worship, as I was told, to witness that they have conquered. Is that the message that we are to send out in 2020? A sword? I find it reprehensible. And as far as Russia's concerned, I think that's an internal problem and a political issue between the Patriarchate of Constantinople and the Patriarchate of Moscow. I don't really think they can honestly say that this is an internal Turkish issue. It is not. It goes way beyond that. If we were to take the Blue Mosque right across the way and turn it into a church, there would be an outrage. Even the slightest insult or perceived insult to Islam. How many years ago did the Dutch magazine run a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, and international mayhem broke loose for a cartoon? And here we have the most significant, iconic place on earth for Orthodox Christianity and all Christians being used for another purpose that it was not intended to be used for. Doesn't that deserve the same amount of outrage, if not more?
Your Grace, we don't have a lot of time left. We have about 8 minutes left, and I think it's very important to speak a little bit about the work you're doing at the shrine. I would venture to say that not many people know what St. Photios is, why it was founded, when it was founded, and also there's an interesting connection here because, if I may give a brief introduction, the shrine is a building that was dedicated to the first group of Greeks that arrived in the New World, and they left the Ottoman Empire. The areas where they left from and came over here on a boat and arrived were Ottoman occupied territories at the time. Can you take the last few minutes of our time and tell us a little bit about the shrine, what you're doing there, and also what the shrine is so that people around the country can know?
The shrine honors the memory of the first Greek colonists that came here. They were brought over by a man named Turnbull, was his last name, Andrew Turnbull, and they were brought here to cultivate land in 1768. And they were given an opportunity, and they came here under the Indentured Servant Act of Great Britain. Don't forget, this country at the time was under Great Britain. It was even before the War of Independence in 1776. So they came as indentured servants, leaving the oppressive Ottoman Empire for a better life. Unfortunately, they didn't find a better life. They found a different type of oppression here. Through a number of steps in history, I don't have the time to go through all the steps, but they went from New Smyrna. They landed in St. Augustine. They went to New Smyrna, established the New Smyrna community, named after, of course, the thriving city in Asia Minor, because Andrew Turnbull's wife was a descendant from there. Her father was from Smyrna. She was the daughter of a Greek merchant from Smyrna. So they came back to St. Augustine, to the Avero house that was given to them later by the Spanish for refuge. And that's the house we occupy today, that we made a shrine to honor their memory, but not just to stay with the memory of the dead, to witness to the world what we have accomplished as people from Greece, as Greek Americans today, and where we're going, and to stand for what is right and what is just in the world. We just last May 29th, on the commemoration of the fall of Constantinople, highlighted Hagia Sophia in a provocative video that lasted 17 minutes that you can see on our Facebook page, talking about this amazing jewel. Who knew that a few weeks later it would revert to a mosque again?
Exactly.
This little jewel here on St. George Street, called St. Photios, stands witness and in solidarity with all Orthodox Christians, especially our Archbishop and our Patriarch, and we hope and pray for better days ahead.
We are going to share in the comments the URL for the Facebook page of St. Photios Shrine. I understand that in about a half an hour you will be live streaming the Akathistos hymnos from the shrine.
Absolutely, as the instructions of the Archbishop and the Synod of America indicated that all parishes should. We felt, of course, that the shrine should do the same. We will be live streaming at 6 o'clock Eastern time, and I hope you can join us to pray the Akathist hymn, to ask for God's intercessions that peace might be once again restored and Hagia Sophia returned to its, maybe not former glory of a church, but at least a museum where all people can walk freely and not worry about any kind of religious oppression.
And that will be at 6 o'clock Eastern time on the St.
Photios Facebook page. That's correct. Yep.
Your Grace, thank you very, very much for your time. It's been a wonderful half hour. I'm very appreciative that you took the time out of your day to chat with us. We hope to have you back soon. I don't know what to say on such a somber day today. May we all see a better day ahead of us for Hagia Sophia and for our world.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you to the Pappas Post and all that you do in promoting Orthodoxy and Hellenism throughout the world. I really appreciate your friendship and all that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for watching. I will be back with an updated schedule of lives, live with Gregory Pappas. I'm back. I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you. Thank you for following. Thank you to all of those individuals who choose to support the Pappas Post. I look forward to being in touch. Thanks.